Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Emily, and for those of you that are new here, welcome. This is all about rebuilding a kick-ass life. For me specifically, it's rebuilding my life alone as a 58-year-old and hopefully being in Portugal in 2 years. And for those of you that have followed me from the very beginning, welcome back and thank you so much for your support and for subscribing. As you know, my goal is to be living in Portugal, and hopefully I can actually create contact that is compelling enough to bring more subscribers on. And if I could monetize the channel, then amazing. It's just another revenue stream that I can hopefully be living in Portugal and be living a really simple life and have another source of income. Which brings me to why I am doing this video. This is specifically for Leonore. Hi Leonore, thank you for being such a supporter and a subscriber. But she asked a question which I've never thought of making a video about. And her question was, how were you able to acquire such a beautiful home? So I did do a video on my first purchase as a divorced person, which was my house. I did a video, took you a tour on my house. And her question was, how were you able to acquire such a beautiful home when you say that you left that marriage with no job, no income, and no support? Great freaking question. So clearly I wasn't thinking it through, nor did I think I would be in for the biggest challenge of my life when it came to getting divorced. It was very tumultuous, very high conflict, took 3 years to resolve just because I capitulated at the very end of it and just gave up and settled for half of the matrimonial home. But you just get to a point, well, I just got to a point where I just wanted to get off the roller coaster. I was on the longest emotional roller coaster ride. When it was good, it was so good. And it was bad, you guys. It was really, really bad. So bad. Bad enough that police were called on multiple occasions. Bad enough that I was the one that got arrested for domestic violence. What? If you know anything about the Gabby Petito-Brian Landry case, that's all I need to say as to why I was the one that was arrested. And I just hit my rock bottom. It was really, I'm going to be honest, it was really more so because of my daughter that sort of was the pivotal moment for me to say, I can't do this anymore. I can't subject my children to this chaos anymore. I can't live like this anymore. I cannot spend one more second in a relationship that is so unstable. And that particular argument that we had, it was almost like I had an epiphany. It was almost like I was an outsider looking in, standing outside of that argument, looking in and thinking, how many more times are you going to go do this? How many more times are you going to go through this? It has been 15 years of the same bullshit. And there's that old saying that repeating the same pattern over and over again and just expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. And really, that's what I had been doing. Just waiting for the promise of a better tomorrow that just never came, never came, never came. Or it came temporarily and then would revert back. So it was just so unstable. It was the roller coaster ride that I needed to get off. But I clearly didn't think it through, because after that argument where I just had nothing to add, I was the observer looking in, thinking, what am I doing? I drove right to my lawyer's office that day, and I had seen my lawyer a couple of other times, let's be honest, because it was so, I'd left my marriage 4 times before I left for good. And so I'd seen her a few times before. So it wasn't like she was a total stranger. She didn't know who I was. And that day when I walked in and I said, that's it, it's over. I'm done. I need you to file for divorce. I need you to drop the papers. I need you to do it ASAP before I change my mind again. And then I never looked back. So, how did I support myself? Okay. So, like I said, from the moment that I filed for divorce, I started sort of putting the wheels in motion. I was 50. What am I going to do? I'm a 50-year-old. Who's going to hire me? I've been out of the workforce for over 10 years. So it was really challenging. Now, I also had the benefit of, and I've done a video on this, my lawyer motioned for exclusive possession of the matrimonial home. So basically what that means is until the divorce is finalized and all the financials are finalized, she wanted me to have exclusive possession of the home without him being there, because at the time my husband would not leave. And of course I couldn't really go. I had no way to support myself. I didn't have a job and I had 3 kids. And so she was pretty confident that I was going to get exclusive possession temporarily. And she did. She did. She got it for me, and it was the biggest relief. But mind you, it took 9 months from the time she filed for exclusive possession until I got it. It was 9 months of living together, which was complete hell, but I've done videos on that as well. So anyway, in those 9 months, I started thinking about, okay, what am I going to do? Like, there's going to come a time where I'm going to be out on my own. And I knew for a fact that support was not going to happen. It was not going to happen. I just knew him well enough. And so I started looking at things that I could do. So I have a friend that's a realtor, and she actually was the one that came to me and said to me, she actually wanted me to join her realty firm as a real estate agent, which in hindsight, I probably should have done that, because during COVID, all her realtors did very, very well. But what I did instead was I said to her, I'm not interested in going back to school. I'm not interested in becoming licensed, but what I am interested in is being your stager exclusively. So a stager works with realtors to prepare homes for the market. And she actually loved that idea, because she had always thought that I had a really innate gift of interior decorating. And so she basically said to me at that point, if you want to be my stager, I will hire you in a second. The only problem is, so staging is deregulated. It's not regulated, but the real estate industry is regulated. And so I really wanted to learn more about the real estate industry and how staging works. So I took a course. It was only, I think, 4 days, a staging course, that I got a certification, and then I was able to work with realtors. So I have to say that for the first, I think for the first year, that staging job was definitely, it was definitely a struggle, because the only way, the business model is fantastic when you're a stager. So you charge for your staging fee, and then you also charge for your rental fee. So the first year was accumulating all of the furniture, the soft goods, the cushions, the pillows, the throws, everything that you would put into a home. So the first year was accumulating all of those items, so then I could reuse them and charge a rental fee. Now for the first year, everything was done out of my home, the matrimonial home that we used to share. I had one room that was completely designated. I bought shelving. And by the way, I asked one of my best friends if she would be interested in doing it with me. And she was all for it. And so I actually started the staging business with a girlfriend. So for the first year, I designated one room in the matrimonial home with shelving that had all the knickknacks and all of the decorative items, pillows, bedding, candles, anything that you would require for the staging. It was really, it only took a year before we actually started making a profit, because it started doing really, really well. And then we would just use the items that we already purchased over and over again. Now, how was I able to purchase them? Okay, so I before getting married for the second time, I had been on my own before. I was working for L'Oreal. I had credit established, so I did have that. So I was very lucky. So I did have really good credit, and I used my credit cards to buy those items. And then when we got paid, I would put it back on the credit card. And so that's really how I accumulated everything. But also what happened when we finally then settled, because it took 2 years to settle, there was a lot of wealth in that marriage. And we had sold a condo. There's 2 condos in Florida that we had as vacation rental properties. One was just in his name. The other one was both in our names. So when we sold that, I got half of the proceeds from that. And I think half of the proceeds from that was $300,000, which sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but I think 285,000 of that, or 270, went to paying the lawyer's fees, believe it or not, after 3 years. And as the lawyer's fees kept accumulating, that's when I decided I can't do this anymore. I don't care. He can have everything. Have the cars, have the condos, have the cottage, have everything. I don't care. Just give me half of the matrimonial home, which was about 700, 800,000, half of the matrimonial home. You can have everything else and I will make do. So after living in the matrimonial home alone for 2 years, because remember, I got exclusive possession, so he had to leave. So I was in that home for 2 years where he was paying me support. Mind you, all the support money was literally going, all of it, to lawyers and maybe groceries. So that $700,000, $750,000 that I got, I decided that I would take that $750,000 from the matrimonial home and put it all, every nickel, you guys, into buying myself a house. I didn't want a mortgage. And I thought, if I put all the money into a house, then failure is not an option for me. I have to figure it out. I have to make this work. And so I worked and worked and worked. I worked so much for those first 2 years. I did not go out. I did not have dinners with friends. I did not do anything except for working on the staging business. And at the same time, what I did was, remember I sold that condo in Florida and I got half the proceeds. Now a lot of it went to my lawyer, but I think I had 50,000 or something left over, and I invested that into a second business. So I started my staging business, which I was working on, and then I was a silent partner in an athletic training facility. So when I was going through the divorce and living at home with my husband in the same house, going through a divorce, I needed to stay out of the house as much as possible. And so that year I got into the best shape of my life. I went to the gym all the time, and I met someone at the gym who was actually my trainer, who wanted to start their own training facility. And I saw the work ethic that he had, and I thought, let's have a meeting about this, because I knew I had a little bit of money put aside, and then he was looking for the money and I was looking for another income source. And so basically, long story short, we opened up an athletic training facility where we trained specifically young athletes, hockey players, soccer players. Anyway, long story short, that became a super successful business. And at one point, the girl that was running the front desk and doing all the bookings and the receptionist quit abruptly. And so I sort of was filling in the gap. But what inevitably what happened was, when I was in there filling in the gap, I noticed that there was such a lost opportunity and such great potential for that business to grow even further. So then I started working as a stager and started running the business, the athletic training facility as well. So now I was getting an income from the business, the training facility, and I was also drawing an income from staging. So really, you guys, for the first 2 years, I had no life, zero life. I had no life. I worked around the clock. Now, the other thing I had just finished doing, if you know this, if you're my followers, I was journaling a lot during that whole time, and that journal became a book. So I mean, I can't even believe it now that I'm talking about it. A published author and owner of 2 successful businesses. Who would have thought? When I was broke, broken, devastated, felt like low self-worth, low self-esteem, and to come out of that as a published author and 2 successful businesses. So that being said, my book was now published, and I was also getting an income from that. So I had income from my book, I had income from the athletic training facility, and then I had income from staging. Now, the thing that we were really lucky about with the athletic training facility is that we were able to secure exclusive contracts with all the city rep teams. So basically what that means is if you played rep hockey, we had a contract that all of the teams, hundreds of them, would train at our facility. And that's really what sort of catapulted that business. During COVID, sold my shares. So that was in 2016 that happened. Then in 2021, I sold my shares of the training facility. So got all my money back that I invested, and then sold my shares and got a nice chunk of money that then I turned that around and I opened up a dog grooming business. That's what I'm doing today. I opened it up with my daughter. So during COVID, there was an influx of sales with dogs, and she was working for a breeder. She was doing a lot of the grooming for the breeder. And then I saw this opportunity that everybody was looking for groomers. So I said to her, why don't you open up your own business? And at first she was hesitant, and she's like, I don't know anything about running a business. And you get scared, right? You get scared. And fear is what leaves you complacent, right? Fear is what paralyzes you. And she was kind of freaking out. So I said to her, okay, look, you have the talent. I will be the brains. I will do all the back end. I will help you financially, get your feet off the ground, and you just do the work. And here we are almost 2.5, 3 years later, now have a successful grooming business. What's happened with the grooming business, just to catch you up, she had a space that she was grooming in up with the breeder on her 25-acre farm, but her rent was kind of high there. So I said to her, she lives down the street from me. She's renting her brother's house. And her brother, the one that's the TV reality star. Actually, I have the Jimmy Kimmel coffee cup because he was on Jimmy Kimmel. My son was on Jimmy Kimmel. Anyway. So when she was paying that really high rent, and I don't know what it's like in the States, but in Canada, the economy is insane. If you don't have $100,000 to put down on a house, forget it. You're not even going to qualify. So I said to her, listen, I will build you a grooming studio out of my garage. You don't have to pay rent. Build your business. I'm going to give you 3, maybe 4 years to do that. Because remember, I'm going to Portugal in 2 years. And that is what she's doing right now and doing really well. So when I'm home and I'm not staging, I am helping her in the grooming salon. So basically, you guys, what I did was I had to overcome the fear. I had to believe in myself. I had my girlfriend who really believed in me when it came to staging. Thank God. And I had to really just overcome my fear, overcome my self-defeating thoughts, and think to myself, okay, this is about building the business now. This is about getting yourself financially on good. This is about you. This is about your kids. There's no partying. There's no dating. There's nothing except for working on myself and working to establish myself financially. So I thank God. I'm very grateful that I ended up having very successful, not crazy successful, but enough that I could support myself. And remember, I put all that money that I got into the house. So I didn't have a mortgage, just had property taxes and insurance. I also didn't have car payments. That's important because I still had a car that I had acquired through my marriage, which by the way, I still have today. It's my Mercedes, which is 12 years old. I know I have to give that up soon. It is on its last leg. If it can just last 2 more years before I go to Portugal, please, because I would really like to not have any more bills. So the way I was able to do it more than anything is that I don't have a lot of bills, you guys. I have, you know, I'm not making a ton of money, but I also don't have a lot of expenses. And if you know from my other videos, I cut back on so many things, even groceries. I stopped shopping at, oh my God, not goodness me, what's that other one? Whole Foods. I stopped shopping at Whole Foods. I went to like Food Basics or the inexpensive grocery stores. I just made a list and everything I didn't need was gone. Cable, subscriptions, landline, getting my nails done every month, doing my hair every month. You guys know, I wear hats because most of the time my gray is so bad. So I just took steps to really going back to living a really simple life, going back to the basics, not being extravagant in any way. We really don't need that much. And I was able to survive. It's 8 years later. 8 years later. I have my home, still have my car, and I still work a lot. So, and that's what it takes. And so now if I'm not busy staging, because the housing market right now honestly is not great. If I'm not busy staging, I still have an income from grooming. Now I could have done that money that I took from the gym, from the training facility, when I sold my shares, I just thought I could put it away, but I could actually invest it in something that's going to keep making me money. And so starting the grooming business is still making money. It's making money for my daughter, and it is also making money for me, because inevitably what happened was she got so busy that I started helping her a lot more, and she's taught me everything she knows. So I'm now, when she's just back to back or slammed or busy, I will take some extra appointments for her, and I did that actually today. So that is how I was able to do it. But the most important thing, you guys, is you have to believe in yourself and you have to overcome your fear. And for me, failure was not an option. And so when I had people saying, oh my God, you can't just work all the time. All you do is work, work, work. Well, I have to. I have no choice. Back then, I had no choice. So I was lucky, and I had great opportunities that came at the right time. And I think that is the definition of luck, is when opportunity meets preparation. So I was prepared. I had done the work. I took the courses as for staging. I had great contacts in the hockey world because all my kids played rep hockey. So I had really great contacts in the hockey world and was, able to secure some of those contracts for exclusive training at the facility, especially with hockey players. And then I had the book, and I didn't think that the book was actually going to be that successful, but it was enough that it just was a buffer. And so I had 3 streams of income, and that's how I did it, you guys. That's how I did it. Staging business, gym, and I no longer have the gym, but I have the grooming, and I still have my book. My book was written 8 years ago, so I don't even promote it anymore, but every now and then I'll get somebody on my website purchasing my book, which is called Rising Up, by the way. Rise up. Rising Up, take charge, break the cycle, and rebuild a kick-ass life. That's why my whole channel is about rebuilding a kick-ass life. That's why Instagram is about rebuilding a kick-ass life. And listen, I know that it seems like right now, all is like perfect in my world. Not all is perfect in my world. I still have a lot of triggers. I still have days that I really, I miss being an intact family. So I've been divorced twice. So I miss, being able to have like Christmas with my kids and their dad and all that stuff. I have days that are tough. A few months ago when staging was really in the toilet, I was like, oh my God, like what is happening here? days of worry financially, because when you are on your own and you have to stand on your own 2 feet and you don't have a backup, you don't have somebody saying to you, you know what, it's okay, I got you. I don't have that. Haven't had it for 8 years. You are forced to stand on your own 2 feet and figure it out. And sometimes it's a little bit of a worry, but at the end of the day, I try not to worry so much about the future and just really concentrate on today. One day at a time. Don't worry about next year, next month, next week. Just get through today. And when you do that, when you live like that, all of a sudden you look back on all those days that you were worried and stressing out, and here you are, still okay, still alive, still fine, still in my house. And so I hope that helps. I hope that helps you in understanding how I was able to do that. And more than anything, it's about your mindset. Your thoughts create your reality. It's almost like that's the real way of manifesting things for yourself. And that's just how I was able to do it. And thank God it worked out. And hey, listen, if it hadn't worked out, if staging was a flop, if whatever, then I would have just had to pivot. And we have to be able to be flexible in life and take those failures as a way of pivoting, going in a different direction. And I still feel like that today. And so I'm hoping that the next 2 years, I am able to still work, to make money, so that in 2 years, I can hopefully be living part-time in Portugal, which is what really, really is tugging at my heart right now. And somebody else asked me if I was bilingual. Yes, I am bilingual. So I was born in Portugal, nasci em Portugal. And then I moved here when I was 7, but we weren't allowed to speak English at home. We had to speak Portuguese, thank goodness, because I was able to keep that language. So I was first, my mother tongue is Portuguese, and then obviously I'm now fluent in English. And then I feel like when you know one of the romantic languages, Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian, it's really easy to pick up the rest. And I often joke that I can't add 2 and 2 together. Math, and not my forte. But I've really been really good with languages. Like I remember being in grade 9 and I was taking grade 12 French because I just kept like surpassing everything. So je parle français aussi y también hablo español, un poquito de español. So I am able to speak French, and I worked for L'Oreal, which is a French company. So I can't say I'm fluent really though in French or Spanish. I'm obviously fluent in English and Portuguese, but in French I speak enough, and I haven't used it now in so many years. When I worked for L'Oreal, I had to use it, but now I haven't used French in so many years that I've forgotten a lot of it. And Spanish is very, very, very similar to Portuguese, and so easy to understand and easy to speak. So there you go. That's that. That is that. Don't be afraid to make bold decisions, and don't be afraid to fail. Because had I been paralyzed with fear, like my daughter was, start a business. No, Mom, I don't know anything about starting a business. I don't want to start a business. It's too much rigor. Don't be afraid. If you fail, you fail. If you fail, then you go in a different direction. But you never know what the opportunities are when you go for it. Like my son, oh my God, his dad was like, don't quit your job and go on reality TV. You've got a pension, you've got vacation, you got a company car. And I thought, you can get that job anytime, buddy, anytime you can get that job. What you can't get is the opportunity that is being presented to you. So go for it, because you will never know if you don't take the risk. And today, 4 years later, after having appeared on The Bachelor, he is living his best damn life. So let me end it on that. Don't be afraid to jump right in and take risks. Okay, guys.